The fall 2022 season is over, and now is as good as the time as ever to do a seasonals video. I haven't done a seasonals video at the end of the season since the very first season I covered on this channel, but I thought this would be the one I'd do. I actually finished a lot of this season's shows, and a lot of them are really good, so I had to talk about them. Remember that I'll only talk about the originals, even though I also finished Spy Family, Mob Psycho, and continued Aruma-kun. With that being said, let's get right into the fall 2022 wrap-up and talk about my thoughts. Let us start with the show that is so popular right now. Bocchi The Rock just started as another cute girls doing cute things show, but now you can't look at any anime-related conversation and not see Bocchi mentioned. My Twitter is all Bocchi-related topics, like drawings, people's opinions, and even analysis of each episode. With all this insane hype, is it any good? Yeah, but I'm just gonna say it right now, this is the most overrated and overhyped show I've seen in quite a while. Now that might sound like a bad thing, but I actually really enjoy this show. But to see it as people's anime of the year, and to see people say it's become their favorite show ever, is crazy. Obviously everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but to see so many people say the same thing is outrageous to me. Anyway, enough about me complaining. Let's talk about the show. Bocchi The Rock is about Hitori Goto, a girl who has severe social anxiety. After seeing someone succeed on TV who stated he was just a shy person as a kid, and with her father being a musician, she decides to learn the guitar. After 3 years, she becomes really good, but never achieves the dreams of playing with a band, or really making friends. Out of sheer coincidence, Hitori meets Nijika, a girl who's looking for a guitar player for her band after the previous member left. Hitori is dragged against her will to play in this band, but over time, she accepts being a part of the band and even overcomes some scary social situations she'd never thought she'd be able to do. That's the essence of the show in a nutshell. It starts off with Bocchi, the nickname the band gives her because her first name is Hitori, and Hitori Bocchi means all alone or something in Japanese, being super socially anxious, but also doing things like making new friends, and even helping out the band with progressing forward. I'm not gonna lie, the first 2 or 3 episodes had me almost drop the show. Not because I didn't like the show, but because the show felt a little too relatable. It's much more relatable than any other social anxiety type show I've ever seen, and it was a little too much. After those episodes, it becomes a lot more humorous and exaggerated, like other shows that revolve around social anxiety. But those first 3 episodes made me feel really bad, I'm not gonna lie. I do appreciate it though, because showcasing the reality of social anxiety, like delaying yourself from going somewhere, trying to make yourself sick so you don't go out, and even having thoughts of how people are thinking about you while you talk to them, are all things I've experienced myself, and it was refreshing, but also a little too much when I watched the show. Bocchi The Rock also has some fire tunes, but that's to be expected when you have a music-based show. I was pretty surprised though, because it's alternative rock. You usually don't hear this kind of rock in anime. I really like the songs in this show, especially the second ending theme. The opening is also probably my favorite opening of this season, maybe of the year, due to the music alone. I've listened to that song probably over 100 times alone. I can't stress how good the music is in this show. Do you know what else is good in this show? The direction. This is something that isn't usually talked about in anime, honestly. But when there are some standout scenes, the community tends to talk about it, and talk about it does. There are many callbacks to scenes using the same camera movement to make the scenes identical. There is some really good shot progression that fits the story well in various scenes. The lighting in some scenes has a lot of purpose. There are many really wild cutaways to real life things. Even the one episode where they have to play their first gig is really good too. That episode's my favorite because it's just the music for a majority of the episode, and you get to see their struggle throughout the song. They even present the song as disjointed and not together, but through the performance, it gets progressively better, while also showing growth with Bocchi. That episode was phenomenal, in a string of already phenomenal episodes. Anime analysts are definitely going to have a field day with this show. There's also a ton of anime references that I appreciated as well, and lots of real life inspiration of real places. This show is also super funny. Obviously there's the social anxiety humor, but the reactions and the way they do some of the humor is so creative and funny.
こうして後藤一人は灰となり、もう二度とギターを持つことはなかったのでした。
I legit was dying laughing at many scenes because of the timing and how they did it was so funny. The animation is oddly really good too. Now I only say oddly really good because slice of life shows usually have very basic character designs with some instances of really good animation. But it seems like Bocchi has so many parts where even mundane things, like saying goodbye to a friend, is animated with so much weight. It looks like it's rotoscoped, but it's not. That's how good this show looks sometimes. Cloverworks is responsible for this, and honestly, after a few fumbles, they've really hit their stride. They're very good at adapting works, and it really shows. In terms of Bocchi, they added so much more to the original manga that was only a 4-koma or 4-panel manga, that the manga and the anime really feel like two different works. Alright, this is getting a little long, so after all the good, there are some things that I disliked. The character designs are kinda basic. I know I just said that slice shows usually have that, but Bocchi just seems a little too basic for me. I like that they actually wear different clothes though, instead of wearing one thing all the time like you see in other shows. Actually, the manga looks way different in the beginning. As you read more chapters, the designs look more like the anime. I do like how they change the designs a little because I feel it's a bit cleaner, but I think it's still a little basic. That's just my opinion though. I feel like it could be so much better if they focused more on Bocchi's development. By the end, she's doing more than she's done before, but it still seems like she's debilitated by things that I feel like she should have conquered already, like talking to people. I understand those feelings are hard to get rid of, but I feel like she could have handled it better after all the trials and tribulations up to that point. This show could have so much more substance is all I'm thinking. Now, is Bocchi the Rock the demon slayer of cute girls doing cute things shows? Probably, due to its insane hype. But unlike Demon Slayer, it's actually a show I'd recommend. It deserves a lot of the praise it's getting, and it's definitely an Anime of the Year contender, but don't go in with the highest expectations that you'll see everywhere. It's hard to say for me, because the way they do everything is so expertly crafted that you can clearly see the love the production team put into it. And this is an adaptation that makes it into an extraordinary anime that will probably stand the test of time, but I can't in good conscience say that I liked it more than other slice shows like Yuru Camp or A Place Further in the Universe. This might be the best anime adaptation, maybe ever, but it's the growth of Bocchi that really makes me rate it a little lower than other shows. I'm probably not being fair considering how this is only one season, but that's how I feel right now. Maybe in the future on rewatches, or even if more comes out, it'll get even stronger in terms of the character development. But that's just how I feel. Check it out on Crunchyroll if you get the chance. Chainsaw Man, more like Chainsaw Mid. Just kidding. I actually like this show, but just like Bocchi, not as much as everyone else. Honestly, I don't really get the hype for this show. This is by far the most hyped up anime adaptation ever. The manga was so popular, tons of people already knew and were talking about it. People would not stop talking about it, making art for it, and even cosplaying it, even before the anime aired. That rarely happens. Usually it's pretty quiet on the anime discussion side, but not with Chainsaw Man. With all that build up to the show, was it good? I definitely think so. Now Chainsaw Man is about a kid named Denji. His father was in extreme debt, but with his passing, all of that money gets left with Denji. Denji has to shoulder all of this debt himself by doing odd jobs and killing devils that invade society. He lives in a shack with his devil friend, the Chainsaw Devil, and wishes for a better life. One thing leads to another, and Denji himself becomes a devil. The society known as the Public Safety Bureau is tasked with the goal of destroying all devils. They encounter Denji, and Denji joins them with the promise that he'll be able to live a good life. Honestly, This show's start is really dark and depressing. I like how they did the first episode, because it sets up everything pretty well, and we get to know Denji's motivations instantly. I also really like the animation of this show. Kinda like Bocchi, they pour all of their effort into animating the mundane things, like walk cycles or someone making breakfast. Everything is as smooth as possible. Even the fight scenes are very coherent and have so much style. I'm not the biggest fan of the character designs though. Most people are just in suits, since the Public Safety Bureau's uniforms are just like that. The mangaka, Tatsumi Fujimoto, has an art style that's pretty good when it comes to the very intense action scenes, but the characters look kinda crudely drawn. This style is actually cleaner in the anime, but it still looks kinda basic to me. I also really like the characters in the show. They all have some interesting motivations, and from what we learn about them, we can actually see how their pasts have influenced their current actions. Denji I already talked about, but his motivations are relatively doable as opposed to other shonen protagonists, trying to become Hokage or a Pirate King. Since Denji literally had nothing, his wishes boiled down to a place to live, good food to eat, and even things like touching boobs or having sex. The sexual requests are kinda weird, but again, he's had nothing. He's a teenager in his prime, and when he achieves these things, the way he responds to them is actually quite sad. I do really like when the team he's a part of is in dire situations, and since Denji already had the worst of it with his own life, his nonchalant attitude helps him stay calm in the worst of situations. Makima... Sorry, don't know what came over me. Makima is the leader of a group that Denji's a part of. She initially discovers Denji and even gives him a warm meal and a place to stay. This makes Denji love her, even though she's just trying to be helpful. Makima seems like that kind of person who's good at her job and is also considerate of her teammates, but underneath that kind exterior is honestly a mystery to me so far. People say she's creepy, and I didn't feel that way till one of the later episodes. She may be creepy, but she's creepy hot. The way they draw her eyes are very hypnotic, and it emphasizes her creepy nature. I definitely think she's one of the more interesting looking characters due to the eyes alone. I even have this cool poster of her. I hope I don't regret it like people online are saying about her character. I do wonder what she's hiding though. Power is a fiend who's a devil that isn't out to kill, and actually works with the Public Safety Bureau to kill demons. She and Denji are really the comedic relief characters. She has this high and mighty attitude where she thinks all humans are inferior to her. She's also just wild. Wildly dumb. With no concept of how humans act, she's got no manners and is overall kinda brash. But in opposition to Denji and the other characters, she's too funny. She also has the power to control her blood and turn it into weapons, kinda like every character in Dead Man Wonderland. She's great. Aki is the third team member in the Special Division 4, which Power and Denji are a part of. Aki feels calm and collected, like Sasuke and Megumi from Naruto and Jujutsu Kaisen respectively. He's like a shonen protagonist if we're being honest. He joined the Public Safety Bureau because his family got killed by a big demon that can kill millions in seconds, so he vows to take it out. He's also attached to the Fox Devil, and how we learn that every member of the Public Safety Bureau makes a contract with the devil to hunt other devils. Honestly, I don't really have much to say about Aki. I like the relationship he has with the character that comes later named Himeno. It shows that he's not just an emotionless killing machine. I also like how Denji and Power are forced to live with him, which disturbs the calm life he lives. Just like Sasuke and Megumi, Aki's hot, so maybe that's why people like him. But Aki does have some interesting things about him. Kobini is the last character I want to talk about. She starts out super unlikable, but gets better through time. Like Makima, she's kind of a mystery. She's a nervous wreck all the time, and we don't get to know her true devil power. Many joke that it's the sloppy blowjob devil, and I have no clue if that's true or not, but I die laughing thinking about that. Anyway, that's all I got for her. I think it's better to know little about her because interesting things become revealed later, and you're gonna want to be surprised. Honestly, I didn't really get into this show until the first multi-episode arc in the hotel. I think it was a good arc because it showcases what devils can do, including Denji. Also, that entire arc poses a dilemma for the group. They either have to act on it, or they become stuck in there forever, which raises the stakes. After this arc, this show just gets more and more crazy, and it feels like the turning points in Mushoku Tensei. Something big happens, and it changes the entire trajectory of things, and whenever I see that in a show, I always get excited. I also really enjoyed how the devils worked in this show. Each devil is associated with something, like the Chainsaw Devil, or something little like the Tomato Devil. How terrifying each object is to society details the strength of the devil. With the Tomato Devil, he was extremely low level, but with something like the Gun Devil, that's just way worse. Simple, but pretty interesting in my opinion. Mappa really outdid themselves with this show. The staff were huge fans of the original work, so this show has been in development for a bit now. You can really see the care and effort put into every episode. There's even a different ending with different animation for every episode. That never happens. Usually you'll get changing endings with different arcs or something, but that's just one way you can see the effort in this show. I'm also just gonna say right here, the opening is mid. I don't like the song. The visuals use a bunch of movie references because the author really likes movies, so that's cool, but the song just doesn't sound good to me. It just sounds disjointed and not really together. To be fair though, the chorus isn't too bad, I just don't like the beginning and the end of the song. It's a shame, because this is also the guy who sang Peace Sign, which is the second opening of My Hero Academia, and arguably the best My Hero Academia opening. Now it might seem like most people really enjoy this adaptation, but just recently, a group of Japanese fans have created a petition to redo the Chainsaw Man adaptation. They claim that they changed the overall tone and how the production is bad. As much as I think this show isn't as good as people say, I do have to say that this adaptation is a very good one. I haven't read the manga, so I don't really know, but with how cinematic Chainsaw Man is, I think they did a good job, but apparently not to a small minority of Japanese fans. This is actually why some people don't like it that much. The manga looks way rougher and fits the atmosphere well, but the anime cleans up some of the character designs and makes all of the colors muted. They also added some additional things that weren't in the manga, but I don't believe that people complain too much about that. It kinda baffles me because these fans are sad that they took a manga and made it into a good anime. Isn't that the point of adaptations? To adapt the manga medium into the anime medium? I don't know. Anime fans just boggle my mind sometimes. I just feel bad for all the other great manga that have never had a good adaptation, like Berserk. They have the right to complain, but with Chainsaw Man, you can tell they put their all into it, unlike the Berserk adaptation. While I don't think this opening is great, and I don't think the show's as good as people say it is, this show definitely deserves an Anime of the Year nod. Very rarely before have I wanted to read the manga during airing, but Chainsaw Man was it. Every episode felt like it was seconds long. It was that addicting. I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm very excited to uncover the mysteries the show has to offer. If you want to watch it, it's on Crunchyroll. I'm sad to say, but I don't really like this show. I was all for it for the first couple episodes. A soccer show where the whole premise is to survive a state-of-the-art facility using large egos? It sounded really cool, but I didn't enjoy it. Now I'm all for sports shows. By this point I feel like I mentioned in every video, but there are some specific sports shows that I like more than others. I like the normal shonen sports show the most, where the character knows nothing about the sport, and the audience learns with him. I'm also fine with just a character-based sports show, like the review I just did of Ashita no Joe, and others, like Ping Pong the Animation. I don't like sports shows that only showcase the sport, and nothing else really. They just make it look flashy, or just focus strictly on the sport. Kuroko is the most like this in my opinion, but this show falls in that category too. Let's explain the show in full first though. Blue Lock is about Isagi Yoichi. After losing the match that would have taken his team to the finals, he regrets not taking the shot himself and wishes that things would have been different. As he's processing this, someone takes note of his skills and invites him to the Blue Lock program. Japan's team hasn't been doing well in the past couple years, and Jinpachi Ego believes it's because they don't have a good striker. How are good strikers made, however? Through being the most ego-filled player on the field. This is the essence of Blue Lock. With Asagi pumped that his feeling isn't something only he feels, He accepts the proposition with the consequence of losing a spot on the Japanese national team. Only one can succeed, and Isagi will do anything in his power to do so. Super interesting to center a sports show around this premise, even though soccer is a team sport, but I just didn't enjoy the way they go about it. It starts off with this super interesting tag game where if you're the last player with the ball when the time runs out, you get eliminated. It really gave the feeling of one of those death game shows, but with soccer. After that though was the first selection, which starts off promising, but it becomes really boring and drags for 12 episodes, in my opinion. While I can't say I hated every part of the selection, week after week felt more and more like a chore for me. First selection consisted of all the players being divided by skill level into teams of 12. To get past this point, you have to work as a team, which baffled me. Even the team members argue, and they can't work together because of how Blue Lock's whole premise is of being the best striker. Eventually they work together, and how they get there is interesting, because they have to bring out everyone's individual strengths to help the whole team out, and that's cool. But some of the matches we see feel long, and it's just the match honestly. This might be fine for other people, but I want to see some growth during the match itself. Not to say every match is like this. There are a couple of matches where we get to see a side character grow, and even some matches where Isagi has to figure out what to do in a match to help him succeed. But some matches are just so boring. I really enjoyed the animation of this show, however, but it seems like they save the best stuff for the best moments. When they're dribbling the ball or whatnot, they use a lot of CG and still shots. Fine, I guess, but it would be cool to see every part hand-drawn. But soccer is notoriously hard to animate with the amount of people and movement on the field, so it's understandable. 8-Bit did the best they could, and honestly, the hype moments are worth it. The characters are all pretty interesting actually. Isagi's team is full of interesting people, and we even get to learn about their strengths, weaknesses, and even backstories for some of them. But I feel like some characters get more time in the sun than others, like Bachira or Chigiri later on in the series. I don't know, there are a lot of good parts of this show, like the animation and the overall premise, but I just felt bored watching it week to week. I enjoyed Aoashi way more, but that was because it was more of a shonen sports show, even though the main character knew and played the sport already. It's just that the way he plays isn't really correct, so he has to undo all the bad style he acquired from playing with his previous team. Blue Lock just isn't a show for me. However, it's not done yet. It still has 12 more episodes, so maybe it'll turn around, but we'll see. If you enjoy shows like Kuroko, you'll probably enjoy this show a lot. If you want to watch it, it's on Crunchyroll. That's the name of this show, and trust me, you'll hear the name drop a lot. They say it in practically every episode. In any case, this show is enjoyable for what it is. Do It Yourself is about a girl named Yua Serufu, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because it's supposed to be a pun on the English word yourself. Funniest name I've ever heard. Anyway, she and her friend Miku Surede, who Serufu calls Purin, applied to a very famous tech high school called UU Girls Vocational High. Miku gets in, but Serufu doesn't. This means she has to go to Gata Girls High, which is just a normal high school, right next to UU actually. On her way to school one day, Serufu gets into a bike accident because she's very accident prone. Another girl happens to pass by named Rei, who also happens to be the DIY club president. She fixes up Serufu's bike, and Serufu becomes interested in DIY. Serufu tries it out and ends up really liking it, so she joins the club. Sounds kinda basic, but it actually has some depth to it. They live in the near future where everything is pretty futuristic. Miku only cares about the future and how it will evolve. So when she learns that Serufu joined the DIY club, she kinda makes fun of her, saying it's something that people did in the past and questions what its use is now. It's an interesting backdrop for the series since the DIY club is not as popular as it once was. This is even a plotline for a future character because she's also someone who's enmeshed in the new future tech. There's also the fact that Serufu and Miku had grown apart. When they were younger, they would hang out a lot on a certain bench in Miku's backyard. Unfortunately, this bench is gone now, and with it, the closeness Miku and Serufu had. This is actually one of the reasons why she wants to join the club. She thinks that if she can make that bench, she can restore the bond she had with Miku. Pretty interesting stuff. This is a classic cute girls doing cute things show. No men, all girls, doing cute things like the genre suggests. They even have Yuri bait, which is common in so many of these shows. Now, if you don't know what Yuri is, it's when two girls get into a romantic relationship. Now, Yuri bait is when the show presents itself as a romance, but it's not. Now, whether it's bait or actual Yuri depends on the show, but it's mostly just a group of girls building relationships, and that's exactly what the show is. I love the characters in the show. They really make the show, which is essential in most cute girls doing cute things shows, since most of these shows don't really have much of a story. They're all unique in their own ways, and they all bring something to the DIY club. Serafu reminds me a lot of Nadeshiko from Yuru Camp. Besides being accident prone, they are also both aloof protagonists. Serafu daydreams a lot and is just overall kinda airheaded. She'll always be super goofy and imaginative in most situations, and it's fun to see her and the club members get into all kinds of stuff. She even has a pet pig. Can you guess what the name is? It's Meat. I died the first time I heard that, because who names their pig Meat? Wild. Now Miku, she's like a textbook tsundere. She pretends not to care about Serafu and even brags about how much better her school is because it places emphasis on the future, but Serafu doesn't care. Her opposition to DIY and older ways of thinking gradually changed throughout the series, and to see if she makes it into the DIY club is a sight to see. I also cannot forget to mention Jobuko. Her real name is Juliet Queen Elizabeth VIII. Could you guess that she's an American? They make Americans all the same in anime, blonde hair and blue eyes. Anyway, since she's a child prodigy, she comes to Japan to study at UU Vocational, but since her Japanese isn't that good, she mistakenly enrolls into the wrong school, Gata Girls. She's actually an elementary schooler, but because of her knowledge in tech, they invite her to study at UU. Because of this, she acts like a big child, and it's fun to see. Also, since she's American, she speaks English a lot, but in short bursts, and it always cracks me up because it's English. It still has that Japanese pronunciation to it, and it sounds funny. Jobuko, which is the nickname that her club gives her, comes from her saying good job a lot. She's probably the funniest character in this show. All the other characters are great too. I like how they take a look back at their pasts, upbringing, and how they shape who they are today. There are even specific episodes introducing these characters, and they're all pretty interesting. They also showcase episodes with their personalities on full display, and I like those episodes just as much as the DIY episodes. The animation and character designs are stellar as well. Pine Jam is the studio that did this, and they're pretty underrated. It's an original work, but everything looks so clean and fluid. The art style is pretty stylistic and simple, so it can make for some great animated movements. The music is also pretty good too. I enjoy the opening and ED enough, but the actual soundtrack is so catchy, and definitely underappreciated in a lot of these cute girls doing cute things shows. If I had to say some complaints, however, I really wish they did more with the entire show. With such an interesting premise and interesting character dynamics, I wish it was something like Yuru Camp, where we get to see the main two characters' relationships get significantly stronger through various events. We even see the main character's hesitancy for group camping wash away through the course of the series. Miku and Serafu are apart for most of the series, and while they do get closer, I think the show could benefit from more scenes with just the two of them. I also really like the setting, but it's only used for Miku and Jobuko. I wish they did more with it, since it does have an effect on the world. This show overall feels a lot like Yuru Camp with the learning of a skill in each show. With Yuru Camp, it's camping, and here, it's DIY. I enjoy the show showing the audience how to fix things step by step with various projects, but I wish they did more as well. I want to see more DIY making stuff, kind of like when Dr. Stone showcases a science build. I want more of that. Do It Yourself is a pretty decent slice of life with some great characters and a fun premise, but don't go expecting a masterpiece. It's definitely an enjoyable show, but it's not for everyone. If you'd like to watch it, it's on Crunchyroll. That's everything I watched this season. I missed out on some big originals like the new Gundam, Eminence in Shadow, and Akiba Maid War, but the shows I watched ranged from pretty good to enjoyable enough. I hope you enjoyed this wrap-up. I honestly just wanted to talk about Bocchi, but since I finished some other things, I included them as well. If you like the content, please subscribe so we can get this to a wider audience. See you next time, and don't forget, join the Hive Mind.